Welcome to the Real Advisor Podcast, TRAP, TRAP. Please follow us and join in the conversation on Twitter @Advisor Podcast, where you can suggest ideas and themes you'd like the TRAP team to discuss. Also remember to like and subscribe to our YouTube channel and leave a 6 out of 5-star review on iTunes. Doing all this really helps us, which means we can do more to help you. Now let's head over to the studio for the latest pile of TRAP.
Yes, indeed, dear Trappists. Welcome back to what many people are calling episode 47 of the Real Advisor Podcast, TRAP TRAP. My name is Lick Ninken, and joining me once again in the digital studio of doom are the 3 other horsemen of the apocalypse, Andy Ultra Heart, Alan the Storyteller Smith, and Carl de la Voce Widger. Now, without any further ado, I'm going to hand over to my right honourable friend, Mr. Andrew Hart, for some more high-energy review reads. Go, Andrew.
Yes, welcome to the digital studio of doom, and it's the most glorious summer's day out there, for the love of trap. First review is from AJ from Melbourne, I believe, called What a Load of Trap. Has anyone done that gag yet? Love the banter, particularly when Andy loses his cool and goes F-bombing. No, I'm a different man now. That's the entertainment side, but you also deliver great content for the industry from the heart. Genuine curiosity in competitive business is rare. Well done, lads. Next review, this is a good one from Fabian Taylor. Great listen, 5 stars. When they're not talking over each other, taking the piss out of each other, heavy breathing, or talking when the microphones are muted, there's some absolute gems in this podcast. It's given me some great ideas since they started recording it, and I'm just about to re-listen from the beginning through all the talking over, taking the piss out of each other, heavy breathing, and talking whilst our microphones are muted. An absolute must-listen from modern-day financial planner. Back to you, boss.
Great stuff. Thank you for those reviews, Trappists. Do please keep them coming in. They give us a little fillip every time we read them, and a chuckle as well, because they're generally right bang on the mark, and we're guilty of everything we were accused of, more or less. Okay, let's put a quick topical timestamp on this episode with some topical tidbits. What's going on at the moment in this thing of ours? Storyteller, you've been there's something going on in Germany?
Indeed, there is. You may or may not know this, Nick, but the European Championships, the famous Euros, are on. The top soccer teams from Europe gathering in Germany to play out this tournament, and I've just come back. You might tell from my slightly raspy voice. I just spent a couple of days in the heart of Germany, in the town of Munich, cheering on my compatriots, Scottish lads. Unfortunately, the result, to say the least, didn't go as we'd hoped it might have done. We got absolutely
You got a goal.
battered. We got an own goal in the 87th minute, which we cheered on vigorously.
Even Chamberlain left Munich with something. For crying out loud.
Yeah. Little piece of paper. Yeah, we did. But no, we left with our heads held high, still smiling, and slight hangovers. The point I wanted to say, though, was on this was I had this in my mind. I saw the tournament, didn't get tickets, didn't get anything, and I was literally. So this is going out on Thursday, right? The Scotland-Germany game was the opening game of the tournament, for those who don't know, which was last Friday night. I was at home on Wednesday, actually Tuesday it first started, home on Wednesday, and I was just sitting there of an evening at home, and I would message my other group of friends, my real friends, my WhatsApp group is a bunch of pals that still friends of mine from my school days, and I just sent a message out. I said, no one's got any interest, have they, of jumping on a plane last minute and getting across to Munich? And most of them said, no, I can't, I've got this, I've got work, or I've got something else going on. But one person who you guys have actually met when we did our...
Oh yes. Yes, we have met him.
The famous, my schoolmate is actually an ex-IFA, would you believe? And he's graduated. He now works for Border Control.
Taxi Tales from Paris.
Pitsy,
yeah.
Anyway, he came on when we all went across to Paris for the Scotland-Ireland game. Anyway, so he said, yes, I'm free. And so we just got last-minute flights and we got accommodation. We didn't have a ticket for the game, but we thought we'll find one when we get over there. We'll go to the fan zone. And I think I'm really glad we went. As I say, the result went against us. There was at least 50,000 Scots in the heart of Munich, and there was people from every nationality there. We were singing and dancing. We had just a fabulous time. And it really was one of these things. If you work out, just briefly, it'd be, shoehorning a financial planning reference into this. Life is for living. Money is for using, to enjoy experiences and to create memories one way or another. All of us on this group, we are one way or another. We're sports fans. Some description, doesn't really matter whose your country is, but you want to go and participate and enjoy sport, live sport, which is just a fun thing to do. And I was working out, Scotland don't always qualify, to say the least. For us just to qualify for a major tournament is a big thing. I thought, when's the next one? Well, the next European Championships after this is back in Britain again. So there's no sort of seeing a team playing abroad, unless you count Ireland as being abroad. And the one after that, I think, is Turkey.
And just Ireland isn't in Britain, clearly. Just
well, Britain and Ireland is where it is. It's Britain and Ireland, Scotland, Northern Ireland, Wales, and Ireland. I believe is when the 2028 is held. The World Cup, I think the next one is in America or Canada and for non-footballing countries. Anyway, I was working out this was an opportunity that I should grasp. Last minute, cost a few quid, jump on a plane, go there, enjoy it. You hope your team wins. If they don't, they don't. But you should go and do these.
Play the jingle already, can we?
You should go and do these things. You should go and you should spend time, have an experience, enjoy yourself, make the most of it. You never know when your next opportunity will come.
The next time Ireland qualify for any football tournament, all 5 million of us are going because we'll be waiting around for so long.
Yeah, but it might be the one after that is in Saudi Arabia. The one after that, so that might not be quite so much fun.
We'll
5 million Irish in Saudi.
Not enough money on the planet to get me on a plane there. Okay, yeah,
right,
good point. Well made. Good point. We don't create wealth just for the sake of creating it, because that's a road to misery. We create wealth because it gives us choices, and wealth helps you buy money and just enjoy things and take advantage of life while we're on this planet. Good point, Alan. So a very dull one for me, actually. I was just my topical tidbit. My first one is I was having a bit of an old man brain fart thing the other day. I just couldn't remember if capital gains tax, if it used the personal, if you had no income, whether capital gains fell into the personal allowance. It doesn't, and that was confirmed to by Hargreaves Lansdowne. Some of you might know this out there, dear Trappists, but they actually have a very good range of online calculators and tools. Their pension tax relief one is excellent. I've used that actually with clients. It's very, very clear. They also have a capital gains tax calculator, and they've got a suite of other stuff as well. So I'll put a link to that in the so-called show notes. And free resources are good resources, and if we can lean on those, it's going to help us be better financial advisors. Capital gains tax, that's something that's up in the news, isn't it? I'm not going to go down the political rabbit hole, but if they bring it on your primary residence, there's going to be some anguish there. Okay, Wodge, Central Bank of Ireland.
Yeah, conscious I'm sounding like a broken down record, but it seems to me like we are getting better here in terms of regulation. So the Central Bank of Ireland wrote to all IFAs, as you guys would know them, financial advisors, basically saying we've done kind of thematic reviews on general compliance standards, and it's not good enough. It's not nearly good enough. And they were very specific in terms of standards amongst one-man shows, smaller firms, was poor, to say the least. So, look, as you all know, because I'm talking about it a lot, we put an awful lot of time, effort and resource into regulation, corporate governance, etc. So I think it can only professionalize us as an industry as it is now, if we're all honest with each other. Interestingly, Brokers Ireland, who are the representative body for the vast majority, if not nearly all, of the financial advisory firms out there, were very critical, strangely enough, of the central bank report. Turkey's voting for Christmas and all of that kind of stuff. Again, I'm not going to make myself very popular saying this, but look, it can only be good if we up our game in terms of what the standards, what is required in order to deliver the best possible and the safest possible outcomes for our clients. So I was very encouraged by this Dear CEO letter from the central bank. I'm probably amongst a very few that was very encouraged by this. So more to come, I would say. I'd say we're beginning our journey to professionalise what we're doing here in Ireland.
Well said. Well said. And we look forward to the update in 2 weeks' time.
Yeah,
right.
Well done, Carl. Carl, and hang on. I've just got a quick follow-up on that. I think I mentioned this to you before, Carl. This idea, it was or aforementioned. We mentioned them, I think, last time on the podcast. But the foul-mouthed Aussie, otherwise known as Brett Davidson. I remember years ago he talked about this: use compliance as a tool to create your own unfair advantage, if you like. These are the rules, and there's a bunch of people, Ireland, UK, probably around the world, that stand there kind of raging at the moon and saying, this is outrageous. This is, these regulators don't know what they're talking about. We're great, we're honest, we're ethical. If you can just quietly, it's like, again, sports analogy. If you understand the offside rule, if you understand this, play the game, play to the referee, understand them. You will get significant advantage by doing that, as opposed to standing there shouting and screaming. You can create significant competitive advantage by understanding the rules, delivering upon them, and being better than most other firms. So I know that Metis Norway has been doing that for years, and will continue to do so.
To be fair to Brett Davidson, he was in Dublin in, I would say, 2015 or 16, and he did the talk, and he said exactly that. And Metis was started in 2014, and I went, it was only beginning to ramp up in terms of the regulation, and I said, do you know what? Let's be the standard bearers here, because this will be important. If we want to scale this and be around for a long time, it's really important we get it right from the start. But also from our client's point of view, if I can put everything in place to show that we're taking this very, very seriously, sure, we probably, take a little bit longer to put stuff in place because we will not take any shortcuts. But it was 100% inspired by the talk from Brett Davidson. So thank you for bringing that up, and I should give credit where credit is due.
Excellent stuff. Great stuff. Okay, we'll go on to you, Ultra, with your thing. But just a couple of bits of housekeeping. Andy, is your doorbell turned off?
No, it's not turned off. So if any deliveries come, they come.
Okay, that's
You'll
great
hardly
stuff.
need another delivery, will you?
Another of you know what, and for those watching on YouTube, have a good look at how Storyteller spells the word story. I'll leave that at that. Okay, Mr. Hart, kids' Jicers.
I don't think he can change the spelling, can he?
I can't. Listen, my brain is still in Munich, so piss off.
Oh, dear God Almighty. The fact that I haven't noticed until you pointed it out says everything about my brain. Oh, dear.
You can't unsee it, can you? Okay,
No.
so yeah, my two little rugrats have been investing since they were very small. I say they've been investing. I set up some JITers for them. And I set it up with a random company that I don't normally use for various reasons that I'm not going to bore you. Anyway, they sent me their annual investment review email the other day that they're now forcing me every year to go online and update the investment profile for my 3.5-year-old twins. If there was ever an example for when attitude to risk questionnaires are brought to light in, just being ridiculous and, intellectually bankrupt, it's when a parent has to fill in an attitude to risk questionnaire for a 1-year-old. It's insane. 10 questions. They're obviously written in a way that they think are appropriate and people will understand. They're not. The language they use is terrible. This is a famous company. It's actually slightly better than some of the ones that we've seen. They are talking about risk and return, high return, low return. So they've adopted that language. But anyway, long story short, it's dreadful. Nick, question.
Thanks, Andy. That is awful. I mean, too quick. You don't want to name the company. You're being very cagey about it.
No, for various reasons.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. Okay. And why did you choose them? I have interest.
Again, for various reasons that I don't want to get into due to divorce situation that I need.
You're a good contributor to this show, mate. I love the give and take.
Right. Let me get to my point. So, this is because I believe they sort of run not DIY portfolio. What I'm saying is financial admin is just upping with everyone. KYC, know your customer. If you've got any money with anyone, they're going to email you every year and get you to refill in some surveys, some investment profiles and things like that. So anyway, I went online and followed the link to fill in the investment profile for my 3.5-year-olds. They're obviously invested in 100% global equities, the highest returning portfolio I could find on the platform. I filled it in as if I was an investing illiterate and I was scared of everything. So I tripped the system. Next minute, I'm getting emails coming out my ears telling me that there's a misalignment between their portfolio and what I've told them on the annual assessment review. I've then got to go on an online investment course to go through how investing works.
No, you don't. Your 3.5 years olds do.
My 3.5-year-old does, yeah. So it's basically robots. The bots are emailing me to update my profile. I've updated my profile. Then the bots email me that I've got to go on a course. It's insane what is going on.
Yeah,
so
but that must be some sort of semi-advised thing you've got.
This is what I'm saying, Alan. There's a lot
you've
of
actually ticked the
quite
box
grey.
that they're giving you advice or some sort. My children are on Vanguard direct platform, have been for 15
I'm pretty
years
sure
or something.
they would ask you some questions when you set it up.
Yeah,
Alan.
they do.
It might be tighter now.
They ask you some questions you set up, but
yeah.
they never ask you again, is the point.
But some of them now need to do it annually. So anyway, a couple of points. Financial admin is just being ramped up everywhere. KYC, know your customer. Compliance departments all over the world, certainly the UK, are increasing the amount of stuff that they're asking for. I've got a source of wealth form to fill in with another well-known bank that is just insane, the level of detail they're going into. So it sort of boils back down to financial admin in your life. And I think how lucky our clients are. We don't have to put them through all of this total BS. They become a client. We try and remove all the drivel from them, get them on an investment portfolio, set them up in the right portfolio from day one. Don't patronize them every year with the ridiculous stuff that this company is asking me. Anyway, I could go on and on, but that's my final point. Just be careful of financial admin that creeps into your life. Setting up different accounts for different people.
Luckily, you've highlighted this, Andrew, because other people now won't use that platform you haven't mentioned, and that's good that you brought it up.
They're all similar.
Really,
They're
really
all similar.
I think if I might get the Hum sponsorship page, and we could probably work it out by deducement. Right, Andrew, the next one is also you, I'm afraid, because I couldn't mix up all the notes because it didn't quite work out that way. And this story that you're now going to talk about does get my blood boiling as well.
Okay, so we mentioned before on the show, and people familiar will know that there's been a British ISA that's been muted. And it's an extra £5,000 that they're forcing you to invest in UK companies, generally FTSE 100, FTSE All Share, etc., etc. Some bright spark has done a bit of digging and realised that the MPs in their own parliamentary, retirement fund, the allocation to the UK stock market is less than 1% or around about 1%. So it doesn't reflect what's going on, globally in the MSCI sort of world index. I think we're about 3.5% or something like that, come down from 9 at our peak. Weirdly, we've just overtaken France as the biggest stock market in the UK just by 0.1 trillion today, actually. So UK has gained back the biggest stock market in Europe. In Europe, yeah. Okay. France.
Yeah. Are we the biggest in the UK, though?
Don't make it any worse.
Okay, go on.
Right. And that's it, really. So the MPs are not practicing what they preach. Funny that. What should the MPs be doing? What should the MPs be doing? Should they have 10% of their money in the UK companies? 5%?
I'll tell you, my friend. I'll tell you what they should be doing. They should be in money purchase pots like the rest of us money purchase plebs. And I'm not going to go any further than that, Andy. I don't really want to think about it because it just, I can.
What does that mean? Sorry, Nick?
They should be in money purchase. Yeah, they should be in money purchase.
Not DC, not DB scheme.
Is this the defined benefit scheme that they are?
Yeah,
looked at what the underlying fund is invested in.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah. I think it's 1.3 in the UK.
It's not a very big scheme, I thought. It's about 800 million, so I don't quite know what it's protecting. I'm a bit confused with it. Anyway, they're not practicing what they preach.
But obviously, they've got some consultant, they've got some investment consultants that they pay millions of pounds every year to tell them how to invest. And that's what they'll say. We outsource the advice to these specialists. But you're
Okay.
right.
All right.
It's
Let's move on because it's too depressing, and I don't. That's a sewer. That whole area is a sewer. Right. I've got my next topical tidbit. It's quite a decent one. This one, I think. Anyway, it's in the Wall Street Journal. I think I've managed to give you a free link because the Wall Street Journal is normally behind a paywall, but they do let you share some articles. So that's in the so-called show notes. And this is a horror story on nomination of beneficiary forms. And I think it's something that's quite easily overlooked. Making sure that these are always up to date. My preferred platform, Transact, now you can actually do that. You can confirm each year that the beneficiaries on file are correct, and you can do that electronically. But this is a story from an American guy, and I think what happened in this story would apply here as well. He had a workplace, a 401k or whatever, a workplace money purchase pot. In the late 80s, he was going out with a lady, and he nominated the fund to her. They subsequently split up in around 1989, and the poor sod died in 2015. Single. No children, no dependents. And now this lady is coming after his pension pot because she still, when he passed away in 2015, she was still the sole beneficiary of his pension pot, which is now over $1 million, by the way. And he never changed it. And his two brothers are contesting her claim on the pot. But it's just an example there of just a little admin detail not being done. So just make sure that your nomination of beneficiary forms reflect your client's wishes, reflect your wishes, guys, but reflect your client's wishes as well, because the company, I can't remember the provider, it's in the article, obviously, I think it's Wells Fargo, are saying, well, we are pretty much bound by this. He didn't leave a will, he's got no other sort of dependents. That, as far as we know, he wanted to go to XYZ, who he last saw, 3.5 decades ago. There you go. There's my story. It's quite a good read. Any thoughts or comments?
No, it's a good one. It's valid, isn't it? And it's just a basic, simple admin thing. It would be part of our annual planning meeting checklist. That's what we do, and we should do. But you can do a lot of other fantastic work, but a small slip up like that and the impact that could have on a family. And they're right. If he signed that document all those years ago and nothing ever, he's never overridden it or changed it, who's anyone to say, oh no, but he wouldn't have wanted it. How do you know? There's no other.
Yeah, well, that's why they
evidence.
I can see why Wells Fargo, or if they are the provider, would stick to that line. Which this is
there might be some change in legislation that's going to up the financial admin, and it needs to be done at least every 5 years or something. That they might introduce something. I know the UK companies have not done that yet.
As I understand it, in UK at least, pension legislation, this is a trust thing. Ultimately, there's trustees, sort of pension fund trustees, which are generally generally the administrator, aren't they? So the Transact, presumably, or some of that is the kind of the actual, but they rely upon. It's an expression of wish, isn't it? It's not. Yeah. It's not legally binding.
The trustees have to follow the wishes.
Well, but they do have the ability to override it. If there were reasons to believe, if he had like minor children, for example, that the trustees could make if there's legitimate evidence provided to them. But it sounds if he never got married, didn't have kids, didn't have anything else, and the brothers are just saying, "Well, hang on, he would have wanted it to go to us." I think they're over a barrel here.
The brothers.
I think the overarching point here is it's a small issue that can create. I had this conversation with someone only in the last couple of weeks. It's something that everybody needs to be very mindful of, for sure.
Exactly right. And that's definitely. A lot of DIY, some DIY investors, non-advised investors, could just easily overlook this and create problems for themselves because they didn't want to, pay a fee to an advisor, which in itself, if that ever happened, would pay the value of the fee for the entire lifetime. Andrew.
Also, I don't. On the expression of wish, you can't just say again. I know. You can't just say follow will, can you? Like, I don't quite know what.
No.
At the moment, I think them, but in the future, I could think a different situation. Like follow. Obviously, again, it's like it needs to be legal. It needs to be tighter than that. But there should be some. I don't know. There should be another option.
I mean, I've certainly, this is the takeaway for me, and I already do it, is that in part of my annual planning meeting checklist of things I'm going to talk is like, are your wills, you still got your wills, right? They're still valid. Okay. And also let's just confirm, Mrs., if you predecease husband, it goes to you. And then when you both pass, it goes down to the children with your pension funds. Are you happy with that? So, but just have it built into that TRAPist, just have it built into your system, your checklist for every year when you're doing the planning meetings, because we know you're doing them because you're the good guys. Have that built in, because it's,
and just on the wills thing, like to make sure that your will is updated every kind of 3-5 years, because things change, and even if it's just a review of it to say it's still fit for purpose, make sure you actually do that.
Did you update your will
look at
before Munich, Alan?
No. I updated
Look at the
before
four of us
we
in
went to
this
the
in this
Arctic.
room. The changes we've had in the last 5 years, and there's a big one coming your way, Alan. I'll talk to you about that afterwards. I mean, it's sad. Right, let's move on to the next the next story. It is
Is that back to me?
Smithy Vanguard TRAP webinar.
I just wanted to shoehorn once again, referring back to the famous live event that we had, seems like a lifetime ago, TRAP Live,
Doesn't it?
and the follow-up to TRAP Live, one of the sponsors or business or partners for the event, Vanguard, world's second largest asset management company, put on a bespoke event for Trappists. And I just wanted to, I couldn't get on that. I think I was traveling to Munich. I think at least some of us here went on it. The point, it was, as I understand it, that it was all about the focus on advisor alpha and demonstrating value to your clients or prospective clients. I got some feedback from our contacts at Vanguard saying that over 300 people registered for it, which I thought was a fabulous result for
Thank you. Much appreciated.
a webinar.
Yeah.
300 registered and 200 turned up, which again I think is pretty good because often on the day people can't make it or they register so that they can watch it later on. So 200 people on this live webinar event went through it. And if you are interested and you do want to catch up with it, we have posted a link to the recording of the event in the show notes. So please go and check that out. And if you are interested, learn more from Vanguard, because they are a very solid organization and we can learn a lot from them, do a lot of kind of behavioral stuff and a lot of research goes into demonstrating the real value that financial planners add. Carl.
I was on it. It was bloody brilliant. Really, really good. The content was fantastic. Really well delivered. Short and sweet. It was kind of, I think, 30 minutes. I hadn't seen it before in the format that they did. So they had their kind of slides, but down the other side, you had, download the copy of the slides from today. But then they had other kind of associated documents. I have them all downloaded. And it was really, really good. And some of the slides were absolutely brilliant that you could definitely use in client presentations. So big, huge round of applause to Vanguard. There was obviously an awful lot of time and effort went into it. And the content was all about advisor alpha, and it was really, really good stuff. And yeah. And I'll definitely be following those webinars going forward for sure. Really, really good stuff.
I also sat in on it, and it was very, very good. Alan, you were at your MBA mini master course, whatever that on that Wednesday morning. Yeah, very good.
And I was at IX.
Three of you got a mention. I didn't, so I had to field my own question live to Celine to get my name mentioned. This is the desperate state of my life. Okay, Thank you, Vanguard. That was very good. Wodge. Convenience is a form of wealth.
Yeah, this was a blog with an associated video from Ben Carlson, who has a wealth of common sense. So if you don't subscribe to a wealth of common sense, do, because that's bloody brilliant too. But I loved this one because it was about he kind of tells a story about some of the uber wealthy people in the States not flying across state lines for tax reasons and circling in the air before they go from one state to the other. And he going on to say, that convenience surely is a form of wealth. And, circling around in your private jet and not going into another state and missing your daughter's, birthday party to avoid tax. Well, that seems a little bit brain dead, quite frankly, and goes back to my old saying, if you don't know what the money is for, the answer to how much do you need is always going to be more. And I couldn't help think that a lot of people in Ireland in the last decade have moved to Portugal to be, non-residents and all that kind of stuff, and it's to save tax. And I've only had a few of them, and the few that I've had all ditched it as a plan and came back, because in the 2 or 3 instances I had, they were missing out on grandkids, communions and confirmations and birthday parties and all that kind of stuff. I went, here, this just isn't worth it. And, I would urge everyone, to have that deep conversation with their partner in life, or just reflect yourself, what actually is the money for? And is saving tax when clearly these people who are flying around in private jets, right, and not flying across state lines, they cannot possibly spend all the money that they have created. And for me, it was a brilliant blog. I thought his couple of stories are really well made. And, it's what we're trying to encourage all of our clients to do is to, live the life that you want to live. But it's now as well as not just, in 20, 30 years time. It is now. And if you have the resources to go and live that life, and for some reason you're doing something that doesn't fit with your lifestyle to save tax, well, sorry, that's just a poor life plan that you've got there.
Good point. It ties in with storytellers.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. I didn't realize you were posting that, Carl, because I read that. It came out like a week or two ago. I remember reading it and nodding my head vigorously, because you're right. The sitting on the, I think in New York State, it costs you a certain tax a certain time. So they're out at Newark or Jersey or something like that, and they can't come across till midnight, and they've got to count all the days. And it seems so much hassle in their life. And there was a time a few years ago, I don't know, these things come and go, but Belgium was the tax exile place. And I remember we had a client who relocated, sold a business for a lot of money, relocated to live in Brussels. And he only had to live there, I don't know, it wasn't a lot, it was like 2 years or something to be sort of exempt and everything. Gave up. He said, I can't do it. Live it in Brussels.
I'm not surprised.
Yeah,
I'm not
he just said, where do I
I'm
just going to pay the tax. I just want to come home. I want to live in the UK. I want to be with my family and stuff. And it's going to be more expensive.
Even if the amount of tax he saved worked out to be something like $5,000 a day, it's like I still can't stay for $5,000 a day.
I don't, it's not worth it. Because
here.
Back to Carl's point, I've got enough. And the other interesting thing, we're dealing with a potential client at the moment talking about tax planning and stuff. And he's just said, do you know what? We do have a moral duty. We don't have to overpay tax, but there's a sense of moral duty. That was just an interesting take. Not everyone is trying to squeeze and dodge every last tax dollar or tax euro or pound. Some people think it's not unreasonable because I've had an education in this country and I've created wealth as a result of it. So
my kids have been born here.
Yeah, but kind of all that stuff.
Look, I'm all for financial engineering to pay the least amount of tax possible. But when you're altering your lifestyle and not doing the things that you want to do with your life, that's a very poor tax strategy.
Or living in Brussels.
Or living in Dubai. I mean, Dubai is a lot of people moving out to Dubai, like tax-free. I understand, I don't know too much about it. I understand everything, the property prices and everything is very expensive there. So it's kind of almost, you pay less tax or no tax, but you pay a lot more in living expenses. But I mean, I don't know, I've been in Dubai, but not for a long time, but it's just, God, it's just, you're either going to live in the baking hot or air-conditioned.
No, there's only 3 months of the year it's unbearable. So you've got 9 months of pure, beautiful sunshine, amazing beaches, amazing everything. So it is a massive pull when the place is amazing and the lifestyle's fantastic, and you can save 50% income tax or something ridiculous like that. So
in a million
it's
years.
definitely got a
But you're
case.
not relocating, Ultra, are you? Anytime soon?
I'm looking at options when the kids are a little bit older. 100%. I won't be spending too much time here. Certainly. It's just the weather kills me here. We've had 9 months of crap weather, haven't we? It's been horrendous.
Try living in Ireland. They
Come to Ireland.
Sorry. I'm not complaining.
Okay. Righty-tighty. So, Mr. Hart, Credit Suisse.
Yeah, I don't know if we've covered this, but I think JP Morgan do very extensive research on historical returns on the market. Barclays something report. Credit Suisse also have one. It's one of these, chock full of information, about 50 pages long. The highlight of it is the real returns over the last 122 years. Real returns in US equities have been 6.4% a year versus bonds being 1.7%. So the returns from equities, real returns, are the only returns that you really care about, have been about 3.7 times the return equities versus bonds. Basically 3 to 4 times returns, real returns, equities versus bonds. We know that anyway. Again, these studies come out by all of these large asset managers that all have people down the corridor trying to outspark the markets, even though the reports come out that says the market beats everybody long term. So it's all a bit contradictory. But anyway, it's a relatively decent report. I don't know if we've spoken about it before. Credit Suisse global report.
Didn't Credit Suisse go bankrupt?
Yeah, they got bought by UBS.
Yeah,
they wrote a lovely report though before that happened.
Just
invest in global equities. Just don't invest in us.
Press
our companies.
Press publish.
Terrible history of Credit Suisse. I mean, there's so many things they've done wrong. You know, just financial disasters over their history. It's amazing they've lasted so long.
Anyway, they're quite good at writing reports.
You posted a link to it because I quite like looking at those things. Did you post a link to it?
Yeah. It's in the
so-called show notes.
Very good. Okay.
Great stuff. Thanks, Ultra. Me next. Oh, here we go. This is a recurring one. So the comic sections, or what are actually officially called the money supplements in the weekend rags, always seem to have a celebrity they ask about their investments. What's been your best investment decision? And, blah, 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 blah. And invariably, when you get people from the acting world, sort of thespians, it just seems to be a horror story. I mean, actors seem to work all their lives, and I'm sure a lot of them will say, well, it's for the art, dear boy, it's for the art. No, I think it's mainly because they make catastrophic decisions. They probably haven't got a pot to piss in, even as they get into the later stages of their lives. And Ade Edmondson, that is a technical term, Carl. Ade Edmondson, famous for The Young Ones and, with the late, great Rick Mail and Filthy Rich and Cat Flap and all those things. And this is, I know, Alan, you mentioned it on LinkedIn as well, but I saw it via Kusal Ariawansa. Please, I hope that's all right, Kusal. And he posted this article from the Sunday Times comic section and into a puff piece interview. They're always puff pieces as well, these things. The journalists never push back. And I know it's just supposed to be easy reading, but he made this thing saying, oh, my best investment has been my house, the classic disastrous mindset, and it's doubled in the last 15 years, he reckons, doubled in the last 15 years. And I told my grandson to avoid pensions and go into property because my house has doubled in the last 15 years.
Is that what the article said? Wow.
Yeah. And you're screaming, I'm screaming, this isn't a money section of the paper. You're a finance journalist. You can push back at some of these misconceptions. And, why the journalist isn't saying, the great companies of the world have quintupled over that period 5 times. 5 times. But they don't. They just let it ride. So Adrian Edmondson said, the stock market's too risky. It's where money goes to die. I don't believe in pensions. My house has doubled in the last 15 years when there's this asset class, the great companies of the world, that's gone up 5 times in that. And it's not about creating wealth for its own sake and just dying with the largest pot of money. But what it means is 15 years ago, Adrian Edmondson or Ade Edmondson's grandson now could be investing in the great companies and have a transformative amount of money that he can do stuff with. Maybe give it away to charity if he doesn't want it all. But it's just this deep-rooted ignorance, and it's just not challenged by the journalists. I find it frustrating, and it just does seem to be creatives are right side brain. Is that right? Creatives seem to have real issues with sort of money and concepts of finance and so forth. So I just thought I'd put that out there and. Any thoughts or comments?
One of my clients was featured in the Sunday Times, so I read it with great interest one weekend. There was a lot of contradictions between what we do, what he's done, and what was written. So, a lot of it is
take it with a pinch of salt.
BS from the journalist. Yeah.
The only other thing that I'd add is if you read the article, it's very damning. He's a non-expert. He's an actor. He's quite a successful actor with a long career, just giving his honest opinion. And one of the things he said was words to the effect, I just don't trust the pensions industry. They all seem to change their name every 5 minutes. One of them buys another one. And then I don't know. He said you just have always an underlying sense that you're being ripped off. And it's a sad indictment on the view from non-experts on the entire sector. After decades of regulation, of billions of pounds spent, the average punter, non-expert, still has an underlying sense that they're going to get ripped off. Ironically,
Amazing
compared
returns,
to the property market.
Amazing returns, Alan. Some of these people have got pensions that they put $2,000 in 100 years ago and forgot about it. They get a statement that's sent to their house and it says, "Now you've got £21,000."
Yeah.
They don't look at it and go, "Well, I put 2,000 in. Now I've got 21,000. I've done nothing here. That's gone 10. Is he still married to Jennifer Saunders?
Yes,
Nick?
he is.
Okay, so surely there's some money intelligence in the house.
Well,
I take your point, Alan. I take your point, but it's like, how do you that level of ignorance, is it the fault of the pensions industry? Because actually we know that it doesn't rip people off, and we know the scandals make the news, and they're so rare that personal pensions are brilliant for people.
Look, if he just clearly hasn't got a financial advisor or a half-decent accounnt, for example.
That's why I'm saying
who would have just
Jennifer Saunders
educated
does.
him and just told him. Every now and again, you do get a good one on that, because I read them most weeks.
Very rarely.
Very
Even
rare.
Alan
Every now and
Sugar
again-
was...
Yeah.
Didn't even understand the stock market. Alan Sugar didn't understand the stock market.
He was all property. He's got his own property trading company.
I get that, but...
Whilst we're on the subject, the other one, if you read in the press, again, timestamp, was, multi-gold winning Olympic cyclist Bradley Wiggins just declared bankruptcy. So you think, God, he must have earned millions of the sponsorship deals that he did and everything else, all his huge success. Dominated his sport for several years. Now
what was the reason, Alan? Do you know what the reason was?
No, just bad advice, bad investments.
Oh, bad investments.
Didn't pay his tax.
Was bad investments
Didn't realise he had to
cited?
pay tax. A bunch of other things. You think, well, who the hell is advising these people? Why is it? Because it just seems to be almost every... there's the data coming out of the US, but we also see it in football in the UK.
NFL.
Was it Craig Bellamy recently? Was
Craig
declared
Bellamy?
bankrupt? I don't know if it's not. I don't know if it's super liable, but
it was.
I think it was.
And
Welsh
and I think his was investments as well. Investments gone bad. They seem to attract, or the other way around, just bad advisors that put them into all these weird structures and complex investments. And obviously, they've got
sophisticated.
Yeah. If you imagine you're a Premier League footballer, the money you've earned, if you just put it in every month,
but 20% of your earnings in some simple index.
Yeah,
I mean, it's staggering.
You would never need to worry about money for the rest of your life. But the number of stories like this is it's ridiculous.
You need to make one decision.
Okay, right. I'm just conscious of time, guys. So the final topical tidbit of episode 47 is Ultra and the C word. So brace yourselves, listeners.
Yeah, the C word, cancer, not the other one. This is a blog, Humble Dollar, Jonathan Clements, who's a financial commentator, and he's just basically written a blog. It's quite a sort of hard-hitting blog. Long story short, he's been diagnosed with quite a serious cancer, and he thinks he's got a very, very short period left to live. And he lists quite a lot of things, because he's an insider in the money game. It's quite interesting, his sort of thoughts on how things have changed since he's got this news. So it's worth a scroll through it. But basically, repeating quite a lot of the things we talk about here. Money has a purpose. Tick off things from your bucket list. A load of other stuff. It's worth checking out. But as I say, when one of our own has some very bad news, it I don't know, it hits me a little bit harder. So yeah, check it out.
Okay, great stuff. So 42 minutes in, and we've given the topical tidbits their fair share of our precious time. So let's move on to the meat and potatoes of episode 47, which is on the subject of, well, we got the apparently there's a soccer tournament going on the continent, and this meat and potatoes of this episode is going to be about tournaments and trophies and winning awards. The whole award industry, and it is an industry. We're all going to give our little talk on this, but we're going to lead off with Storyteller telling us his journey through the award maze.
Yes, thank you, Nick. Yeah, we did think it would be topical right in the midst of a tournament right now. Winning medals, winning awards, winning trophies. So, by the way, Nick, I'll give you a nod for if I need to tell a story. But this is I'll just briefly rattle through the journey. This is not the story, but when I got started in business, I had a feeling that how could we differentiate? I was like one-man band, then there was like two or three of us. How could we differentiate? And I started. This is not it.
I don't care.
Grab yourself a drink, a very long drink. It's story time with Alan Smith.
Andy made me. He bullied me into it, okay?
Yeah, well, I've got a story, but it'll come later. So, no, I decided to enter awards. And as we know, there are lots of industry awards, and there are a lot of the publications have their own awards. And we started to enter them. And it's hard to talk about this without coming across as a completely arrogant cock, because we won, and we won pretty much, we won a lot of awards, right? I've got a trophy cabinet. I'm in the office now behind me, which is groaning under the weight of these awards that we won in maybe the first 10 years of being in business, because we entered a lot. Now, people might say, there was less competition around those days. But we won quite a lot of these awards, and it was great. And we used that to, we self-promoted. We told our clients, we told professional connections. We just, we promoted it amongst the team and colleagues. They ended up, there are, as you say, there's all the various publications, but there's two industry bodies, really, isn't there? There was the PFS, again, and there was the IFP, now part of CISI, and the IFP ran their own award. They had their absolute award for the best firm in the IFP, and the IFP tended to attract all the better firms anyway. So they had an award, and it was called the David Norton Award for Excellence, named after the late David Norton, who apparently was before my time, but was a complete, absolute legend in the origin story of financial planning in the UK. This is the story very briefly. We entered that award. I didn't realize how long it would be, the whole process, because I get a note saying, like, you've made it through to the next round. Could you now provide this lots of other information? So I go, yeah, fine. Then about a month later, you've made it through to the next round. You're now in the last 10 or something. I thought, God, how long is this going to go? If I'd known I had to provide all this information, I might not have entered in the first place. And on it went and on it went. And it said, right, eventually are in the last, you're down to the last 3 or 4. And the winner will be decided by a one-to-one interview with our panel of judges. And it's on this specific date. And I've looked at the date and I thought, oh my God, that's the date I'm going on holiday. I'm away for 2 weeks. I literally leave that day. So I go back to them and say, look, I won't be around that day. Can we do another day? And they say, no, it's that day or nothing. So I've had this, honestly, this whole process has taken months. I thought, oh my God, from the last part of it. So they said, but you can send along colleagues if you are, any colleague. I thought, my colleagues didn't even know I've entered the award. They didn't know much about it. But I said to Graham and Charles, boys, and shout out to you boys if you're listening to this, because you'll remember this story. So I sat down with them and said, guys, I've entered this award. We're through to the last. It is the most prestigious award in the industry. It's wonderful. And we're down to the last 3 or 4. It's an panel interview. Actually, Brett Davidson was one of the judges on that day, and a couple of other, notable high-profile people from our sector. Anyway,
your good personal close friend, Brett Davidson, was one of the judges.
He was, although he was less of a close personal friend at the time. It was a long time ago.
I think I know where this one is going.
No, so Graham and Charles, and they literally
did you pay in Australian dollars or UK.
You can't say that. But they were literally walking along and they didn't quite know what they were doing. They were phoning back the office. Where are we going again? What is it? And I'm meantime on holiday. I'm lying on my sun lounger and I'm calling them saying, right, say this and say that. So they arrived they told me it's like UBS office in Finsbury Square in London. For this is where this interview is taking place. So bear in mind, it's called the David Norton Award for Excellence. And these two jokers pitch up, go to a reception desk and they say, oh, hi, good morning. We're here for the Graham Norton Awards. And he said, you mean David Norton? Oh, yeah, sorry. Anyway, okay. So clearly it was the blind leading the blind, didn't know what they were doing. And anyway, long story short, ta-ra, we won. We won the award, and it was wonderful. And I went up to Cardiff and picked up the award, and it was super. A couple of years later, we entered the Chartered Financial Planner of the Year award. We won that. The point of this saying is, by the end of winning that award, I was really questioning, because I will now say, full disclosure, I don't believe that we've ever picked up a client as a result of winning all these awards. The awards now seem to be, there are more of them than you could begin to count. There's awards, there's all
but
sorts
just
of
on that, Alan, just to sort of be pro awards, is there anything subtle going on? Like you mentioned on your emails, your website, there's trophies that they conveniently have to walk past by, walking into the office, etc. Is there like this, there might be. What I do know is, it's depending on, and this is one of my points, because you're right, we were talking about this offline, because I've started off saying I was pro awards, we entered awards, we won awards, and now I'm saying I'm not a big fan of awards now. And I think the world has changed, and I think, but
the example I gave you, there was so much effort entering awards. There was just a lot of stuff we had to do in these panel interviews and provide data and information, client surveys, a lot of stuff we had to do. And then I think, well, what's the point? What do you get if you actually win an award? And I think from a client's perspective, no one really understands the difference between, let's say, the David Norton Award or the Chartered Financial Planner of the Year and like the financial planning equivalent of the Auto Glass Trophy or something. You can now get awards. And there's a lot of controversy around this, but there definitely is pay to play. You can pay for certain awards. You can get there. I mean, we were shortlisted for one award. I won't mention it. It was one of the major publications, finalists for it. And they said, we'd like to come along. How many seats do you want at the table? I said, how much are they? £300 a head. I said,
that's cheap.
£300 a head. That day it was discounted for intermediaries. And they wanted me to buy a table for 10. And I honestly thought, from a team event viewpoint, if I was to take my colleagues out and put, let's 300 quid behind the bar or whatever each, we would have a better night out than going to some, West End hotel.
Just a bit.
And go to
just a bit.
To say at least. So I declined on that, and they said, well, and then I was told, well, we might have to, review your finalist application. I thought, so it is. If I pay, I get. But they're very, very clever about saying that. They weren't completely. They didn't say that exactly in so many words, but they said, no, we couldn't say that. However, it's those who pay and have a table are more likely to have a chance of winning. I just thought, man, this is an interesting thing. And now, as I say, you seem to get so many different awards that every advisor is a multi-award winning advisor. And there's no difference. As I say, there are some awards that are difficult, like winning Champions League is difficult, but winning like a small trophy that there's only 4 people enter isn't quite so difficult. So I've evolved. I'm not a big fan of awards. There are some companies out there who are just brilliant businesses and they're great and they never enter awards. They say, look,
they wouldn't go near
the only
awards.
thing that we care about is our clients. Our clients seem to love us. We're doing really well, not fussed about it. And it's become an industry. And you do see the same names now entering awards and winning them most of the time. So look, we just thought in the midst of a tournament, we'd sort of start having a chat about, is it worth entering awards? What's the value? What's the benefit? What's the upside? And what's the downside? I mean, Andrew, you must have won a few awards. Swimming badge, bronze medal.
I won the Conquer Championships at Beavers, age 8. That was my biggest
Where?
life. Cubs. Conquer champion at Cubs.
I thought you said something else, but go on.
Anyway, I think your story, Alan, might be quite typical of firms. I think when they're in their early stages, they're a bit more gung-ho, can be asked to fill in a 100-page form, got no clients, got a load of time. When you get busy, successful, and have clients, you don't want to be pissing around, spending hours and hours doing admin for some obscure publication. So I think that's probably quite a typical route that a lot of people go on. I mean, the awards we see now are ridiculous. It's like wealth management administration awards and back office, front office awards, and they're just making them up for the sake of it. There's almost like more people at the award show than there is in the whole industry that they're trying to award.
I think that's the point, isn't it?
Head around it.
That is the point. I mean, one of the awards I did go to, and when they've got awards for funds, and if you do like European emerging markets, small cap, blah 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 fund of the year. And by the time there's 72 awards, and the one I was at was like the second last award on, so you're like dying.
And there's always a comedian that's semi-famous doing the old hosting, which is normally quite funny. I don't know if you saw the other day, but like I'm going to name them because it was a public tweet. Scottish Widows got awarded for something, and some bloke on Twitter said, "Yeah, I've already put in 3 complaints to them this week." I mean, you can imagine
I think that was our friend Raj.
Best administration award, and they've got like 46,000 complaints or something. You just couldn't make it.
I think it was Raj Shah put that on Twitter because he's got an ongoing beef with widows at the minute. Our friend.
No, it was Elliot someone. He's a listener. I think he works in Edinburgh. You know, that dude. Anyway, no, I've never really entered awards. I don't think I ever really will. I find them quite painful. I see them online all the time. Obviously, it's quite a marketing thing. I sort of understand why people do it, and firms at a certain stage in their development. I mean, there's a lot of pay to play. Tables cost a lot of money. But I think people are impressed by them. Like a family member of ours won an award recently that was just like, but the whole family were just like isn't it amazing, wonderful? Have you heard the news? So if a firm wins an award within a family that they're not insiders, they're impressed by this stuff. I was just like, I couldn't think of anything worse. But I played the game and congratulated, but inside I'm thinking it's a total waste of time.
But does that not talk to the point about clients might think that that's a good thing?
Exactly that, Carl. That's what I'm saying. So being on the receiving end, a family member won like a marketing award. It was like the biggest news ever in our family. So the same would apply on the financial advisor side. Sorry, mate.
I think like to Alan's point about, we've never won one client. Well, maybe not, but maybe the social proof of you winning the various awards helped you get clients across the line. I know, Alan, when I met you, you had just won the Financial Planning Firm of the Year award, and I thought, wow, that's amazing, or whatever, right? So, and we have entered awards before, and we've been delighted when we won them. And I think Andy's point is really well made, that, if you're a kind of firm starting out, entering these things, I don't think is a bad idea at all. And giving your best shot to get a couple of them under your belt so that you can say that my peers have voted us the best in whatever. We don't have the amount of awards at all that you have over there. And I do see all of the ones that are over there. And it's like, as you're saying, we'll niche down all the awards. So basically there's one for everybody in the audience. Full disclosure, we've just applied for the Irish Times Great Places to Work Award. And I would really like to, now that's a proper application, and I think we're into phase 2 of that at the moment. Might go nowhere. So if you hear nothing from me about that again, we didn't get it, right? But that one would matter to me. And I would really, really like to get some acknowledgement that we're looking after our team and we're trying to, as best as we possibly can, create a great culture and a great place to work. So I wouldn't dismiss them all. The one award that I love out there, right, is a fully independent financial planning firm of the year in Ireland or Ireland and the UK, or I don't know. And somebody like, I don't know, Avoyant or somebody like that to sponsor it and have maybe an independent board and have an application, process. And maybe if you win it, then part of winning it is that you sit on the selection committee for the following year or something like that. And that doesn't exist. And I'd like to, I'd love to see that, and then say to all of the providers out there, if you believe this is the way this profession should go, you are going to cough up. You are the ones that are winning because financial planners are doing great work. So we're not going to charge anybody. We're going to make this free because the providers who are making all the money out of the financial planners actually placing the business, you're going to sponsor this and you're going to make this work. And then you take away, well, you got to pay $3,000 to play. It's then, okay, this is a really prestigious award, and it's something that everybody who's very serious about doing real financial planning, that, this is something at some stage in our firm's career we're going to go for. And you could have large firm, medium firm, and small firm or something like that. But you could also, right, and I think this is important, right? You could also have paraplanner of the year, because I think it's really important to acknowledge the work that is involved. But you're very specific that this is about financial planning and people who are doing great financial planning, and it could evolve from there. It's not going to happen, though, because unless we do it, nobody else is going to do it. So I'm probably talking through my hat, but that is one that certainly I'd like Metis Ireland to be said, yeah, you're the financial planning firm of the year.
And I think you're absolutely right. And we do have versions of that in the UK. And the ones I mentioned, I mean, I only speak from my experience. No doubt someone listen to this and say, oh, you forgot about the XYZ award, which is fabulous as well. The two main professional bodies, CISI and the PFS, have got their own version of it. And it is a proper submission. And it's loads of work. And it's interviewed by people. And a lot of... If you go out, in fact, if you just gotten shortlisted, if you've gotten the last 10 or something like that, you're a bloody good firm. It's some of the others that we're aware of. And I won't mention any names, but so much self-submission.
Biggest one. I think the third biggest one, I don't know exactly where it ranks, is New Model Advisor Awards. They're very big.
Right,
we have all been to them, as in me, you and Nick over the years.
If I understand it correctly, they are self-submission. So you put all your data in. There's no audit trail. There's no... be careful what I say, but I've looked at some of those numbers and I've checked them across with their accounts and I've said, interesting. So I would rather have one where there's rigorous auditing done of your information, of your submission, where you're asked to prove. You can just say, our clients love us, but show us your last client survey, show us your personal development program for your team, show us the work, show us examples of the work we do, and let's have a panel of experts interview you rigorously about it with a bunch of other people. You come through that and win those, fair enough. Yeah, I think that's my point as well. The outside people may not know, well, he won Chartered Financial Planner of the Year, and he won, the Autoglass Van Rental Trophy Financial Planner of the, the equivalent.
Yeah, exactly.
So, but he's a multi-award winning, or she's a multi-award winning.
Look, that's a fair point. Just on the Great Place to Work, right? That one, we had to send an anonymous link from them to every one of our team members, who sent it straight back to them. So, you can't hide from that, obviously. And it's all our clients think are great. Well, maybe, a survey to your clients or something like that. Yeah, look, it's not perfect. It's never going to be perfect. But, it is interesting, Alan, to say that, at the outset, you guys went after all the awards. Yeah. I think that was a really good strategy. Yeah. So I wouldn't be telling somebody it's a bad strategy. I think if there was way less of them, I think it would be good because it would make it more prestigious and real.
I think Alan's point, though, is that the awards thing has just mushroomed from when he was doing it those years ago. It's become an industry.
Yeah, it is an industry itself.
I mean, the real winners are the event organisers and the five-star hotels in London. That's pretty much where most of the awards are.
I think it's the same for every sector as well. But I said...
Oh, every sector.
I said
it's Grosvenor House. Every single day, Monday to Thursday,
people with penguin suits walking around.
It's an awards factory. It's an event awards factory, and all the hotels do it. So very interesting.
I said someone recently that I would rather enter that a small business of the year, not financial services, and come eighth in that versus some beautiful boutique hotel and some other, and then be told why we didn't get through the semi-final, why we didn't win it, and learn from that. Because I now want to be compared with the best small businesses as opposed to be the best IFA firm, for example, because it is all about progress and learning, and I think if you started and just you could just accumulate a lot of awards is the thing, and keep accumulating them and showing up, because I think there's a bit of award fatigue and there's less people enter them now, I think, overall. But I know Nick's has a comment on this thorny subject.
Yeah, a couple of things.
Have you many awards, Nick?
I just don't count them anymore because I'm just not that kind of. I'm not wired that way, Carl. I'm not wired. No, I don't have. I put it this way. I've not. Every competition I've entered for, I've won. If I ever entered them, which I haven't done. No, I mean this CISI and the PFS. I'm treading carefully here. I'm sure they're not pay for play. Okay, but the ones that are pay for play, that's outright fraud. I don't give a damn. That's just you buying an award and it's wrong. And if there are Trappists who listen to this and have done that, I'm happy to have a dialogue. But to me, that is just rank. That is rank behaviour. And we all know firms that have got some of these awards and who we wouldn't refer our family members to. And I think it's the cognitive dissonance of saying you're a financial planner and then paying to get an award or paying to get a table. It doesn't sit well with me at all. And I think I'm going to bring out some horror stories here from the past, and this is all in the public domain. Alok Dander, who was the new model advisor firm of the year for the North in 2006, was jailed for 5 years in 2014 for defrauding his clients. So he's out now. Alok Dander, hope life is treating you well, Alok. Now you're out back on the streets. Award winner, big fraud. And the second one, this is more recent, and this is a tragedy at various levels. And again, this is in the public domain, and I'm not saying this lady's name to knock her. This is just simply a record of fact of what happened. Kerry Nelson, Portsmouth-based IFA, very prominent, loads of awards. News of her doing financially nebulous things in March 2023. It broke. She was declared bankrupt in February 2024. February this year. But as recently as July 2022, she was winning the Professional Advisor Women in Finance Awards. And then from the Portsmouth News of the 11th of November 2022, Nexus, her firm, was sponsoring the Large Business of the Year category in the New Business Excellent Awards 2023. While she was doing what she was doing, she was entering these awards, and it's just like, I don't know, the dissonance. And as for me, I find I have no appeal, absolutely zero appeal, and I think the pay for play thing is really, really poor behaviour. It's just outright skanky behaviour. And I wouldn't want to be involved with it. Yeah, that's my those are my thoughts on the awards.
You should get off the fence sometime, Nick, and just say what you really think. Come on.
I think the IFP one, the CISI one is I know it's, we know quality advisors have entered that and haven't won it. And David Hearn won it, I think last, might be the current holder of the and he's a proper.
No, for sure.
He's really he's good.
You can't just get that by writing a check or buying a table. You can't. Neither the chartered planner of the year firm as well.
A client who's not an insider wouldn't know the difference between any of this.
Exactly, that's the trouble.
A lot of us are saying, which a lot of us are saying.
Exactly. So we know if you get the CISI award, the CISA award, or the PFS one probably, you've done a lot of work and you're probably bona fide and you're good. But you're right, Joe Public wouldn't know that those brands from Autoglass, Autoglass Emerging Market Small Cap Value Fund of the Year.
Exactly.
Yeah.
We should have our TRAP awards, shouldn't we? We should just have a TRAP dinner. Pay to play, £1,000 a seat. Come on, come on, Darren.
And then go against everything we say.
Review of the year. Just so they send you your reviews in, 6-star reviews of the year. Yeah, that'd be fun.
So
or maybe not.
To finalise, are you pro awards, con awards? So yes, no, or on the fence? Carl?
Pro, generally speaking.
Alan?
It's hard because it's pro good awards. I am pro. I'm pro. God. I think 2.
Pro, con, or maybe.
Right, I'm not because it's over. Well, pro, con, or maybe. I'll take a maybe then.
I'm a maybe.
Con.
Nick.
Con. Given what it's morphed into now, I think it's a con. Notwithstanding the good work done by the entrants for the CISI and the PFS
awards.
In the round, a con. Okay, we are at 66 minutes in, and I can see walking the way up my enormous drive is Posty. She's hauling the bulging sack of TRAPist questions. There goes my front doorbell. And it's time to pull out a question from our beloved TRAPist. If you want to submit a question, it's in the pinned tweet on X, whatever you want to call it, at the top of our timelines. Also in the so-called show notes. We will get round to them. This question today is from Christmas 2023. So you can see we've still got some to get through. I need to open it up actually before I tell you who it is, don't I? So I need to find the letter envelope sound, which is there. So this is from Tom N. So Tom, you wanted to be anonymous, but then you put your LinkedIn profile in there as well, which gives your full name. But I'll leave it as Tom N, but your LinkedIn profile will be going out in the so-called show notes. Tom N, who's currently a teacher and digital marketeer, said this. I recently found the Podnaps.
Don't ruin his career.
Oh, okay. Maybe I won't post the link. But he put it in there. I recently found the pod and absolutely love it. My question, I'm looking at both the SJP Academy and the Quilter Academy. I know SJP is the more established academy, but keen to get your thoughts. Thanks and Merry Christmas. That's from Tom N with a LinkedIn profile that gives away his surname. So what do we think about that? I would have said probably, if you go back 2 years, I probably would have leaned towards the SJP one, but there's been, I don't know, they're definitely not the flavour of the month, are they? I haven't got any. Go on, who wants to lead off on this?
I know the SJP Academy quite well. I sort of do some training with them, blah, 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 blah. So I'm very pro the SJP Academy. It's very well organised, well run, and a lot of people go through it and they're very pro it. I believe they're a little bit, it used to be originally all face-to-face. Now a lot of it is online. And the people that went through the face-to-face say it's a bit of a shame that a lot of it's now online. Quilter, I don't know anything about the Quilter Academy, but I generally come across Quilter and Quilter firms. So I'll not say too much about that. So yeah, I would favour the SJP Academy. Alan?
To my understanding, there are 3 main academies, SJP, Quilter and M&G. MG, aka, as well as
correct,
Prudential. I'm talking about the scaled industrial kind of.
Yeah, that's right.
Before I
academies.
forget, I joined Next Gen Planners ASAP Tom N.
Yeah.
Next Gen Planners
Next Gen
as soon
Planners,
as
for
possible.
sure.
That's like a community, £12 a month. You meet other people, read stuff online. That will connect everything. That's the central
Look,
beehive.
the
let's
challenge
say.
here is all these things are leading to a job, right? That's one thing. You're not just doing the academy. There's a quid pro quo. You do the academy, you're expected to work for that organization or one of their branches or franchises or models. I think for any of them, because you're effectively getting significantly discounted training. So I don't think any of us know whether one training is better than the other. I'm going to say it's probably all roughly the same one way or another. I'll just give you, and I've got to be a little bit careful what I say, but just some real life, it's kind of anecdotal, but it's real, some conversations I've been having recently, because as we all know, we do get a few calls and direct messages and things from advisors going in particular journeys. And two conversations I've had recently. One was going to the SJP Academy, one was going to M&G Academy. And both of them last minute decided not to pursue either, but to seek out a more, to find an independent firm, knowing, and I said to them, I suspect that the training that the smaller boutique type of IFA type firm would provide you won't be as rigorous, won't be as good. But they just felt they'd rather do that because we're not going to go do this again. We've had our SJP conversations in the past. A lot of them do really good work, but some people were saying, I'd rather just, if I have to recommend products and services, I'd rather stick to an independent option, knowing that I'm maybe going to compromise on the quality of the training. But if I sign up for Next Gen, if I sign up for, I think, is it Verve, the called? We mentioned that before.
Yes.
There's quite a lot of resource around. There's quite a few bits and pieces, if you can patch it together. It won't be as sort of comprehensive as these other training academies, but I think there's an increasing number of people who are just preferring to retain the independence route. They'd like knowing that it might cost them in terms of quality of training long term. That's just some real life feedback I've had in the last 2 weeks.
Interesting.
On that point, I think maybe the destination could be argued is better, but the journey is going to be a lot tougher, a lot more windy, a lot more lonely. But yeah, each to their own. Cole.
I would say asking us is pretty pointless. I'd go and ask somebody who's been through both and see what they say. But I'd also begin with the end in mind. So where do you want to get to at the end? And then to Alan's point about, there is an expectation that you join the firms or whatever. So what kind of lock-in periods and if you're going to work for them, what kind of client banks, what kind of firm, So I'd say begin with the end in mind and find at least one, if not two or three people who've been through both systems and then make your own judgment.
And to find those people, I'm pretty sure you can join Next Gen and then ask in their forum. I'm pretty sure there'll be loads of resources for that. So
there you go. That's brilliant.
The big domino is join Next Gen Planners ASAP. Anyone listening to this is thinking about getting into this business, loosely or seriously, that is your number one stop. Then everything else falls into place.
And also, shout out for Nick's, if you are in financial services, shout out for Nick's at your
IFA email forum. That's if you're a couple of years in the business,
but it's very good. Okay.
Thank you. Have I mentioned it before? We're at 540 odd members now.
Soon to be renamed the TRAP Forum.
No, Andy, that's just something you say, and I just discount immediately. Right. I think we've given that question, Tom N, anonymous with a LinkedIn profile that gives away your full name and address.
Don't put in his full name. Don't put in his full name.
Should I not? I don't. He might.
No, for God's sake,
all right, I won't put LinkedIn. I'll before I forget. I'm just going through the so-called show notes now, Tom. I'm deleting your LinkedIn address. There you go, Tom Nesbitt. You'll never. It wasn't Nesbitt, by the way. It wasn't Nesbitt. Okay, right. Right. Let's move on to the next part of the show because we're at Christ on a bike. 73 minutes. What the hell are we doing? Us jabronis.
We've no idea.
Beautiful sunshine outside. Carl, your podcast.
Right, yeah.
Let him out to hang.
Excellent. Rich rolled. Alan Smith introduced me to, was it Tim Ferriss and Rich rolled?
Yeah.
Was that
Brilliant,
the podcast?
brilliant.
Yeah, that was. So if you're only going to listen to one podcast, get the Tim Ferriss interview with Rich Roll. But as a result, I've kind of followed on and off, dipped in and out of Rich Roll's own podcast. And the one he did recently with Cal Newport resonated with me. Cal Newport is the kind of guy. He's no social media presence at all. He's got some great ideas about kind of slowing down in order to get to where you want to go actually more quickly. Stuff like doesn't respond to every email. In fact, doesn't respond to most emails, it seems. You'll all love this one, guys. So we get a lot of requests via this podcast about picking our brains. And I'd like to apologize to everyone who sent me the pick your brains one, because I've ignored them all. But I haven't ignored them all because I'm rude. I've ignored them all because I'm really, really busy and I need to prioritize and focus on my own business, basically. So he never, ever replies to pick your brains. I thought that was interesting. Never, ever has a full diary. Thought that was also interesting. And back to, didn't I mention Andy Farrell's thing was the main thing is to keep the main thing, right? Yeah, focus on one thing, and that, the universe has a habit of reconfirming messages you need to hear. And I've heard that, I don't know how many times over the last while. And I mentioned it to my own team last week. We had an away day, and it's very, very relevant to me and to Metis Ireland at the moment. So, yeah, it's a brilliant podcast. And Cal Newport, I'd never heard of him before. Really, really good guy who's got his shit together and knows what he's about.
His famous book's called Deep Work.
I've read that
years ago.
He's got another couple since then.
There was a sort of theme around that time, wasn't there? There was essentialism, deep work. Yeah. And I think it was called The One Thing as well. They're all three decent books.
He's actually written a new book, Andy, that I can't remember the name of, but that's why he's doing these podcasts now. Cool. So he's kind of back out.
Yeah, I'm going to listen to that. I like both of those guys are great. Rich Roll and Cal Newport. And
really good. Highly recommend.
Great stuff. Thanks, Woj. So mine is from the Billions podcast, which is a series that sort of tracks the ETF market around the world. And the last episode is entitled, Can an Outsider Fix the House That Bogle Built? Because for the first time in its history, Vanguard is bringing in an outsider to run the firm. They've always brought people in they've just trained their executive team from within and promoted from within. But there's a sense that Vanguard, it's the second largest asset manager in the world, so it's not struggling, but there's a kind of a sense it's treading water a little bit. In the US, the UK platform seems to work very well, because I've got a tiny bit of money on the UK platform just to see how it works. And but apparently the US platform is just a nightmare. And they've got a lot of disgruntled people in the FIRE movement who are quite, want to use Vanguard, but go do it through Fidelity or some other platform, because the tech is outdated. There's a perception that Vanguard, the branding hasn't been changed for ages. It's not resonating with the younger people. So they're bringing an outsider, someone, a guy called Salim Ramji, who was head of BlackRock's ETF business. And obviously BlackRock and Vanguard, they are the two biggies. And here you are taking someone from your arch competitor and bringing them in. So let's see how that sits. It's been interesting. Just a short listen. I think if you're in this thing of ours, it's worth listening to.
Is that guy, Nick, Salim Ramji, who is head of BlackRock's business? What did you say? Head of the ETF business? Head of the ESG?
Head of BlackRock's ETF business, yeah.
ETF business. Okay.
He's not actually on the podcast, is he, Nick? Are they just talking about it?
They're talking about him. So it's two American finance journalists.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, they're just such massive brands, aren't they? Okay, next Culture Corner.
Talking of massive brands, we're all in the kind of podcast zone this week. I listened the other day to, and I get another one I dip in and out of, Barry Ritholtz, founder of Ritholtz Wealth Management. And he's got about 3 podcasts himself alone, but he's got his one that he does through Bloomberg, Masters in Business. And he interviews all sorts of, half the people you haven't heard of, some, US fund managers and things. But anyway, he interviewed Peter Mallouk, who we all have heard of. Peter Mallouk being the founder, creative planning. And it's a brilliant, for anyone who's in our game and they're aspirational and they want to learn from someone who's achieved what he's achieved. I mean, it's wow. So his firm, which is an RIA, which is the American version of an IFA, they are over $300 billion assets under management. So they're getting on for twice the size of St. James's Place, for example, by far the biggest in the UK. And they are, and they remain an independent. They use low-cost index funds. They're one of Dimensional's biggest advisory firms. They use proper planning every time, every client, cash flow, the whole thing. They are just doing what we do, but at ridiculous scale. I mean, ridiculous. 300 billion, fastest growing RIA in the US. And he just goes through how he did it. I mean, they've bought a lot of firms in the last few years, but they got to, I think, 150, 180 billion organically. And guess, and where are they based? They're not in San Francisco or New York. They're in Kansas. Right?
Kansas.
Not exactly.
Dorothy.
Yeah. But it's just, it's a really good interview. And they talk, and for those of us who are a bit older and into their music, the last 10 minutes, they're just sort of swapping about bands they've seen and the favorite music. So, you see a bit of the personality behind both Barry Ritholtz and Peter Mallouk. But, take my hat off to what Mallouk has achieved. Obviously, the US is just a different market altogether from Europe or the UK. But, oh, my God. And he's saying, the final thing I'll say, at 300 billion, when are you, when are you going to hang your hat up or just chill out a bit? He goes, no. Compared to what they call over there, the wirehouses, the Morgan Stanleys and all these other firms, he said, they're in the trillions. We're going after that. We want to be a trillion dollar RIA firm. Because they are making a big impact. He is driven by high quality, independent financial planning, fueled by low cost, sensible investment propositions. Sounds great. I was very inspired by it. Worth checking out that podcast.
Yeah, I think in the last episode 46, I referenced a Peter Mallouk interview on a different show, and he's very engaging. He's very, there's something about him, obviously, but there's something about the way he talks as well. He's very, very good.
He's on Twitter. He's on Twitter. He posts quite a lot. He's got like very low followers, so you get a really good insight into him.
Yeah.
Check him out on Twitter.
Okay, next point.
I've got 2 points. I'm breaking the rules, so I'll go for my first one very quickly.
Not for the first time.
Morgan Housel, Knowledge Project. Again, it's another Shane Parrier or something he's called on the Knowledge Project. I've done the YouTube link.
Shane Parrish. Knowledge Project.
Shane Parrish on the Knowledge Project. Yeah. And my final one is business-related. Rory Sutherland, his podcast called On Brand. He's pivoted the podcast. He's basically just interviews business people. It's freaking brilliant. Rory's wide knowledge of various different businesses and industries is insane. But he interviews the founder of AO, which is Appliances Online, a guy called John Roberts. It's one of the best business interviews I've heard in a long time. He set up AO.com online because he had a bet with a mate in a pub, a pound bet, that said he wouldn't be able to set up an internet business. Anyway, it's a great story. He talks about lots of other stuff. He's doing lots of stuff with underprivileged kids, and he talks about council finance. Just goes off on a tangent. It's an amazing podcast. I can't recommend it enough. And I listen to as many Rory Sutherland podcasts as I can find. But if you're into Rory Sutherland and you just want to get an insight into his brain on various different topics, he interviews a lot of good people. It's called On Brand. So that's my final.
Did I tell you that his boss is my neighbour? Have I ever told you that?
Yes, she is. Yeah. We bumped into her a few times in the hallway.
Oh God, poor lady.
Get on with it. Let's wrap up this show.
Right, well, you're the one bringing your bloody neighbours into the conversation. Okay, we're 82 minutes in. Let's draw a line on it. That is a wrap for episode 47, dear Trappists. Thank you for your time. Please do leave a 6 out of 5 star review on iTunes. Make sure you subscribe as well. That way, every other Thursday morning, you get a fresh load of Trap just sliding into your phone. You don't need to do anything at all. And also, check out our YouTube channel. Like and subscribe to there. Click the bell thing, and then you'll be notified when we put another part of this out. But until the meantime, it's adios from the Trap Pack. Take care out there, folks. And until the next time, goodbye.
See you later.
Goodbye.
Bye. It's all right.
Yeah.